Well, that's not going to happen in 24 hours. It's going to take a while, but there should be pointers in that direction, leading me to, talk about these things. One of the issues that was raised by our previous guest is the global nature. And by global, I'm talking about the entire ecosystem, the entire Nigerian ecosystem. We don't just factor economic security without looking at some other levels of security. We can't talk about food security without talking about some other levels or kinds or aspects of security. So, Prof, most of the time, and I'm calling attention to this because we've done this for many years, even decades. Most of the time, whenever people have issues, they look at the central government. Meanwhile, we have had, and we still do have, 36 state governments since the Abass days in Nigeria. Most of the time, when things aren't going in a particular way that Nigerians expect, they are looking at the president, they're looking at the ministers, forgetting that there are governors in the states who seem to be escaping the fire, so to speak. So people talk about the federal government, talk about the National Assembly, talk about Lagos State, in some cases talk about Rivers State. And what we have seen over the years is that those states tend to get better because they are almost always under fire, constantly under fire. So they tinker with their problems and they get better. Things get costlier in those environments, particularly in Lagos and Rivers. But they tend to work on their systems. These things, one way or the other, find a way to contribute to security. What should the state governments be doing? One of the issues that our colleague, our previous guest raised, was that the collaboration between federal government and state governments, he can't see them. Speak to us about security as well. Do you see that collaboration between the federal government and the state government to forestall these insecurity issues that come up from time to time?
Thank you very much. That's a very loaded question, and brings us back to what we have spent a lot of time talking on this platform, and I've spoken on other platforms. Look, number one, there is a dysfunctional system between the federal system and the state system in Nigeria. Our federalism is very skewed in favor of the federal government, needlessly, I must say. That is always there. Look, you're absolutely right. We focus too much on the federal systems, the president, the ministers, and the National Assembly, and this and that. We have state assemblies. We have state governors, and state governors, by virtue of the Constitution, are the chief security officers of their state. However, in Nigeria, because of the system we operate, the state government is beholden. It's a poor cousin of the federal government. It's beholden to the federal government. Take, for instance, I'm happy you mentioned Lagos State the other time, and I remember, I think, about 2-3 years ago when there was an issue, I think, in Magodo. And you saw I don't even think it was a commissioner, it was a DP or something like that, talking to the governor of Lagos State at that point in time. I think it was Jide Sanwo-Olu. I think he was talking to a junior in office. Sorry, you are talking to the governor of Lagos State. You are talking to the governor of a state, who, by the way, is the chief security officer of the state. But that will show you that particular incident, which went viral, I remember very well, shows you the kind of mindset that our functionaries have. When you are in the state, as far as security is concerned, you are beholden to the federal, like every other thing, you are beholden to the federal government. For instance, when NSA happened, I'm sure you are, all of us were around then. I remember I said that on one of your programs. The governor of Lagos State, not only did Buhari fail completely to come down to Lagos State, despite there were reports of killings or no killings, the use of gun and this and that, blah, 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 whatever, our youth were put to the barricade and this and that. The president of Nigeria never for one come down to visit that particular state. Not only did you see that, you then saw the governor of the state doing a report and carrying the report from Lagos State to go and show the president, as if the president does not have television in his own house or didn't watch TV or didn't know what was going on in the country. So that tells you the kind of relationship between the state and the federal. The states are constitutionally emasculated, elevated to the point that they can even hardly breathe. So sometimes you begin to ask yourself a question, what do they do? A commissioner of police in a state by the way, is not accountable to the chief security officer of the state. That tells you a lot. Is accountable to his own IGP, the Inspector General of Police, who is accountable to his ultimate employer, the Mr. President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. So you have a lot of problems flowing, in between the relationship between the federal government and the state government. Now, be that as it may, that only goes to the constitutional imbalances that we have today. But that does not mean that the state have no power if they are really willing to be able to address the people. And I'm happy that you said yesterday, a governor did say that he wanted to prioritize his own people. The truth is, most of the state governors do not prioritize the interest of their people in the country. You can hide under the issue of what is it called, state police. I mean, by the way, I am a very strong supporter of state policing. So the whole idea that when you have state police, they will use them to do this, to rig elections, this and that, all those are nonsensical arguments as far as I'm concerned. Elections are rigged anyway in Nigeria, whether you have state police or not. And there is no empirical fact that if you have state police, it's going to get worse. I mean, in other countries, you have some policing up to university level. So, sometimes we like to demonize ourselves as if we are these extraterrestrial beings, that anything that can happen to normal humanity cannot happen to Nigeria. So, I understand our cynicism, but let's cut ourselves some slack at that point in time. So, back to the question. State governments, if they really prioritize the interests of their people, there's a lot they can do. They call them executive governor, which is redundancy. They are governor, they're executives anyway. They have enormous powers to be able to superintend it. Lagos State, which I served at the point in time, began Lagos State Security Trust Fund. I served on the board of that trust when I was in government for about 4 or 5 years. That is a remarkable outfit by Lagos State. It's an ingenious outfit. And the function of the trust fund at that point in time until today, part of the function is to be able, to galvanize the private sector, especially to contribute towards the part of that institution, which we then use to support policing. I will tell you for free, at a point in time, if you go around Lagos today, you will see most of those cars. They're written on them, courtesy LSSTF, that is courtesy Lagos State Security Trust Fund. That is how a state will partner with the federal government, which controls the police anyway, to make sure that individual problems at your own state level are tackled with your own resources. You don't need to go to proportional change to be able to do that. It only takes creativity of your mind to do that. And I'm happy a lot of states now has begun to, a lot of states have begun to implement that. We have it in Oyo State and so many other states. That is one way in which states can step up. We have Amatekun, and I'm sure other states have the same variation. Now, whether you want to harm such, whatever you call them, paramilitary, whatever you call them, enforcement group, with ammunition whatsoever, is a debate to be had. We need to have that mention. But again, the state can genuinely tell the federal government, look, in the Northeast, if I were governors in the northern eastern zone, I would go to the president and say, you are the commander-in-chief of armed forces. I face existential problems in my state, and I need to do ABC. Can we sit and talk about it? Because I have powers in the constitution that call the chief security officer of the state. But sorry, most of our governors do not behave as chief security officers of their state. They behave as chief accounting officers of the state, whose major interest sometimes is to disburse funds that they hardly account for. And that is very, very damaging.